Merry Christmas, everybody. I don't know, this might come out after Christmas. If so, I'm sorry for that shit. Either way, my name is Wyatt and I'm Ferda Tunes, and today we are diving into what I listen to throughout the year. I've been planning this for, it was just an idea I had basically at the end of every year with my list videos, which I put most of the hard work and effort into. I thought it'd be fun to just do this one and just go through my Apple Music replay. Most people are familiar with the Spotify Wrapped. Apple Music has their own version. It's cool. Just highlights all your most listened to songs of the year, all your most listened to artists and albums of the year. You guys get the idea, and I just assumed it would be fun to just see because this year was a really weird year for me musically, especially with the whole isolation when that was like really going on. I was diving into a lot of different weird shit. So I don't really have a good idea what to expect. Obviously, there's a few artists that always make the list. I think last year was like filled with like Grateful Dead, Pink Floyd, Elton John, and the Beatles. And I know this year is not gonna be like that. So without further ado, let's see. I haven't looked at this. I think I peeked at it like mid-year, but obviously that's just changed a lot. So I really have no idea what to expect. Get my replay mix. Our songs of the year. Whew, the hype is okay. Oh, Jesus, okay. Keeping track of all the 2,384 hours of music you've listened to this year is hard work. Thank you for doing it for me. So I guess we'll start with songs. Number one makes complete sense. Discreet Music by Brian Eno, just a 35-minute and one of the most important ambient pieces in history. And it was just such a soundtrack for me during isolation. A lot of Brian Eno stuff and a lot of ambient stuff around that time. But Discreet Music, I would toss that on while I was editing, when I was going to sleep, when I wanted to meditate, just too many times, so that makes total sense. I'm just realizing how many fucking times I said, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that sounds about right. That makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of the fucking point of this whole thing, Wyatt, you dumb mother... All of the Circles picks obviously makes sense. That was my album of the year. If you missed my album of the year video, go check that out. But yeah, I've listened to that album a shit ton. And the other picks, in the top 10 at least, Dog Boy, iPhone by Rico Nasty, and Unreal by Bladee. Those were just songs that I was just genuinely addicted to. I physically could not stop listening to it. I remember for a month or two, I don't know why, I would just put Unreal on every time I went to the bathroom. I would just go in the toilet and just boom, and I'd just play it, and while I'm searching Twitter or whatever. It's just an addicting song. I don't know why. That beat could just be playing forever, and I'd just rock to it. Let's see more. Okay, more Circles, more Brian Eno, Boards of Canada. I listened to so much Boards of Canada in isolation, especially. And I really just discovered, they're one of my favorite artists, period, of all time. Daylight by Joji, totally. Fucking love that song to death. Yeah, all of these picks make sense. Ambient 2 by Brian Eno is one of my favorite ambient albums ever. And I keep saying, I was just so into ambient and IDM and just kind of down-tempo electronics at the time of the whole isolation. Akio Mando and Claws. I'm surprised those aren't a little higher. Oh my god, I loved those fucking tracks. They both got really high spots on my singles of the year list. That Boards of Canada EP is so crazy. Acid at 7-Eleven, one of my favorite lean songs this year. Steve Roach, I listened to this album a ton. Okay, now we're getting into the nitty gritty, I feel like. TikTok, Joji, that was another track where I would just find myself just tossing it on whenever I was doing mundane activities. Versace and Amherst Station by Westside Gunn are another two of those just super quick and just so addicting songs to me. I don't know why, I just find myself slapping them on whenever I have a quick minute to listen to something, right? Afterthought, one of my favorite songs off of Joji's album. Love that to death. I could not stop coming to back to that one. M-Tomb by Earl Sweatshirt is that's another one, a very short one that I would just find myself tossing on, I guess. Surprised it made it so high, though. 7 Years, Be Nice to Me. That was when I was getting into Bladee, I'm sure. Give Me Love, just another addicting, so catchy song. Ghost, the song Earl Sweatshirt released this year. I fucking enjoyed the shit out of that one. Oh my god, they do top 100 or something here? Jesus Christ. Okay, now it's really the nitty gritty. Sergio by Action Bronson. I'm so happy it made it that high. Okay, I'm skipping ahead. Low, one of my favorite Young Lean songs. Babies and Fools, one of my favorite off the Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist album, which made it very high on my albums of the year list. Milli, you know, I'm surprised I hadn't seen her yet. You know, I listened to that tape a shit ton of times. That whole tape was addicting to me. I was coming back to it so much. Merry-Go-Round was definitely, when I was getting into Bladee, that was one song that just really stuck to me quick, and I was so enamored by it. WAP, man, y'all know. I've been banging WAP. It's a smooth-ass song. I fucks with it. Westside Gunn right above it, the outro, such a crazy track. I loved everything about that song, and that was the song off the album that really made me want to come back to the album so many times. Calcium, Echo 2K, I'm surprised the track before that on his album, CC, wasn't higher. I love that song so much. Most of these, you know, are just like this Boards of Canada album. I've listened to the whole album a shit ton of times, and that is another just very short and addicting track that's filled with these. And like Stars and Alfredo and Joji especially, and of course Circles obviously, which made it so high. The Charli album, Milli, a lot of stuff on here was just from me listening to the albums just so many times, coming back to them a shit ton. That Rico Nasty single is a bit of a surprise, but shit, it was banging. Oh, that Bones tape, Garbage. When I was really getting into cloud rap before I got on the whole Drain Gang wave with Bladee, I was super into Bones, and that fucking tape is unreal. Oh well, I'm surprised that didn't make it higher. It's such a great track. Enemy, you know, all these again, I just listened to the album so many damn times. Like Echo 2K's album, I came back to that one a lot more than I thought I would. Ponytail, Panda Bear, and Aries by Gorillaz. I'm happy those made it. That Gorillaz song made it high on my singles of the year list too. I was so blown away with that. Lazuli, oh, such an amazing track. I'm surprised there wasn't more Beach House, but I guess that was like during my isolation, like I was addicted to all of their albums really. I went through their whole discog finally through isolation, but there was a few albums from them like Bloom and Team Dream that I had just fallen so in love with because a good friend of mine put me on, I think just middle last year around there. But yeah, I listened to them a shit ton this year too. Quite a lot of Young Lean tracks near the end, that makes total sense. Noblest Strive, what a fucking angelic song. And other than that, I think we can kind of continue. Moving into the artists. Oh, okay. Whoa, I didn't think Steve Roach would be nearly that high. Okay, you've listened to over 1,000 different artists this year. Here are your current favorites. Brian Eno, that makes sense. Just discrete music alone. Just, you listen to that once and it's, you know, it's half an hour. Steve Roach, purely off of, I enjoy his Quiet Music series a lot, and I really got into that. If you guys are looking to get into like ambient new age music, it's a great place to start. But Structures of Silence is like his masterpiece that I discovered him through that, and it was fucking great. Mac Miller, of course, y'all know I'm a crazy Mac Miller stan. Autechre, I really got into them earlier this year, especially again during isolation. Their albums were just, going through their discography was genuinely just addicting. It just got weirder and weirder, and I just got more and more intrigued and interested as I went through. Boards of Canada, I have been fans of for a while, but I listened to every single thing they put out. Love them to death. Young Lean and Bladee made it very high, and it does make sense. Like, once I really got into them, like I keep saying, I physically could not stop listening to them. Aphex Twin is one of my favorite artists, like, period. Like, probably top 10, just personal favorite of all time. But even I wouldn't think that he made it that high this year. Animal Collective and Beach House were really, like, I kept coming back to their music anytime I was in kind of a feel-good or just needed a weird comfort or just an escape from this shitty fucking year, which clearly it was a lot, and their music is just such that. It's such an escape. Animal Collective being so experimental, you know, you're going into another dimension. And Beach House just, it always feels like a warm blanket, their music. The Alchemist made it above Freddie Gibbs, and that's purely because of just how much shit Alchemist put out this year. He's my producer of the year, if you know, you haven't seen me mention that yet. His collab with Conway, collab with Freddie Gibbs, obviously, Boldy James, even his solo stuff, I fucking loved it all, and he just blew me away this year. Harold Budd, I guess it makes sense because the only thing I would recognize listening to from him so much is his album I guess, I'm pretty sure he's credited on Ambient too, but I don't think he is on Apple Music. But I know he is for Brian Eno's album The Pearl, which I was pretty addicted to for quite a while, but I didn't think it was that much. Joji makes sense. That's probably only Nectar. Honestly, no, I do remember, actually, wow, now that I remember like a good week probably during isolation where I was just like, yo, why haven't I been bumping Joji's music? Like, that shit's so perfect. And anytime I went out to Rib, I was just slide on some Joji. Also getting so hyped for his album, which was coming out, and oh, okay, these make total sense. Fortet, I got into his discography, I think late last year, or at least I finished it all up. It took me a while to get through, but maybe early this year too. But his album just impressed the hell out of me, and I loved it so much. Made it into my top 10 on the Albums of the Year list. Westside Gunn, he also got a spot on that list. Makes total sense. When I really got into Griselda's sound, like it was such an oddly addicting thing to me. Charli XCX, another one kind of like Griselda. Like, I hadn't really listened to them this year as much as I'd heard about them, and I finally just said, fuck it, like, I've never heard their music, I'm diving in, and clearly the end result, I was happy. Rico Nasty, y'all know I'm a Rico Nasty stan. I've made a few videos, listened to her a shit ton, especially in the last few months, so she probably just skyrocketed up. Prince, I'm kind of always listening to Prince a little bit, you know. I fuck with Prince heavy. One of the best discographies ever, ever, ever. And the Flaming Lips, another artist that I got into this year, I'm pretty sure. Early spring, I really got into them, and the Soft Bulletin and Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots, or whatever that album's called. Love it to death. I fell so deeply in love with it, and their album this year really impressed me too. Speaking of albums, I can't drum roll and scroll at the same time, so whoa! 1,328 albums? Part of me feels like they just pull numbers out of their ass, or do they just have a rough estimate, but if that's exact, that's pretty impressive from Apple, and I mean, Jesus Christ. Joji, I remember just keeping Nectar on streaming when it came out, because I remember, man, yo, I don't give a fuck if people hate me for this. I really wanted his album to go #1. It was just one of those things where I'm like, yo, if Joji got a #1, like, I would just be happy. I would just be like, yo, that's so crazy. Because, like I said in I think my Singles of the Year video, when he dropped Daylight, I was just so blown away by how impressed I was and how proud I was of him. As weird as that sounds coming from a fan, I guess. But I had just kept up with him for so many years, and I'd been with him since his YouTube years, where, like, if you know, you know. But this album just blew me away, and I was looking so forward to it from the singles, and so I literally just kept that shit on streaming when it came out. So I guess it makes sense it's so high. I still cannot fathom that it beats Circles, my obvious album of the year. And I guess, now that I'm thinking about it, I did get it on vinyl, maybe, I want to say September or something, maybe around there. And once I got it on record, I remember I've at least listened to it on my record at least like 30 times. And just, God, love that album to death. I won't get into it. I spent a lot of time on my album of the year list talking about it. So Ambient 2 makes total sense. That's pure isolation for you. So, see, this is what I mean. Circles made it twice, because, you know, the regular edition and the deluxe edition. When the regular came out, the deluxe obviously came later, but I was just streaming Circles a shit ton. It was like that. Stars was just an addicting album to me, and just such a mind blow. I was so deeply in love with it. How I'm feeling now is such an interesting one, because I remember literally like hearing about it, and I wrote it down when I started thinking about doing my album of the year list. And I just remember I was in the kitchen with my girlfriend, and I think we were washing dishes, and I was like, oh, like, are you down if I just toss this on and we just hear how it is? Because she had, like, obviously heard of Charli XCX before, hadn't listened to her much, so we're like, yeah, sure. And I remember, like, by the time we hit Claws, I think to the third track, and, like, my favorite track, I was literally just looking at her like, what the fuck are we listening to? Like, this is unbelievable. And clearly it stuck with me, because, my God, like, in the car, man, in the shower, everywhere, that shit was hitting. Now, Bladee, 333. I'm really surprised it was 333 out of all projects. I feel like it would have been Ice Dancer or Exeter. Exeter, I probably listened to the most, I feel like, but it doesn't make sense. I obviously listened to a lot of Bladee this year. Alfredo makes total sense. Another one made it very high on my album of the year list, and I'm just such a huge fan of both of them. When they announced they were doing the album, I lost my fucking shit. Only for Dolphins, I'm surprised it made it this high, but I'm happy it did, because I definitely did listen to it a lot, and I really do fucking love that album. Definitely think it's one of his best. And there's Ice Dancer. Speak of the devil. Just one of his like longer projects, and just you know, all over the place, I guess, and ear-grabbing. So many ear-grabbing songs that I remember tossing this one on at work a lot, like just slide a headphone in and I'd just be kind of rocking. So that's about it. If I can think of any albums that I am surprised didn't make it, because there's definitely a few. Sung Tongs by Animal Collective and Bloom by Beach House. I was almost certain they were gonna make it, because my god, like, I was so into them. So I don't know, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just thought it'd be fun to just go through it and like geek out a bit, show you guys what I've been streaming, who I support, who I fuck with, and just obviously listen to the most. I'm crazy rambling, but again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You guys can follow me on Twitter and everything. Let me know what your most listened to album of the year is, or what you found yourself coming back to the most. And we'll see you guys soon. Again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. This is probably gonna come out before or after Christmas. Much love. Give your family a big hug from Ferda Tunes. And Happy New Year. God, let's just all pray and let's all be nice to each other for 2021 so we don't all die next year. Oh, and stream circles.